So in the next tutorial, we are going to look at logical operators. So I'm going to create a program and I'm going to call this logical.py. So as far as logical operators are concerned, they work hand in hand, especially with the conditional statement and the comparison operators. So it's almost as if I'm trying to work with data types and variables. Variables always goes with some kind of data, and data always has to go with some kind of variables. Okay, so these work together. So as far as the logical operators are concerned, we are going to look at some logical things over here. So we are going to look at the or, the and, and the not. Okay, right. So in starting, let's say we have a variable x is 10, we have y is 5, and we have z is 10. Now remember, we used to do something like print, then let's say we have x greater than y. All right, so if you should print this one out, it's going to check is x greater than y. So it's 10 greater than 5, and it is actually greater than 5. So we are going to see true over here. Now we are going to look at a scenario, and let's say you want to print this one too out. So let's say you want to print is z, okay, is z equal to x. So that one too, we are going to see true. So these are the two true statements over here. Now let me clear this. Now what if we want to combine these statements and do some kind of logical operation? And that's where these or and end and not comes in handy. So once again, let me comment these ones out. And let me come down here. And I'm going to put out the print statement over here. So this is going to be the bigger bracket. Okay. And inside it, I'm going to put out the first statement. So x greater than y. Then I'm going to start with the end logical operator. So we are using end over here. And over here, I'm going to say z is equal to x. So if I print this one out, we are going to see a value of true. Now what this end operator actually does is it checks if this statement is true, and it also checks if the other statement is true. If both statements are true, then it is going to output a true. It is only going to be true if both of them are true, or as many as we add together. So for instance, we can put in another end, and let's say we have y less than x. Okay, now this is also another true statement because y, which is 5, is actually less than 10, which is x. So if I should print this out, you are going to see this. Now if I'm to change just one of them, okay, so this statement we have, the last one over here, is actually a false statement because y, which is 5, is not greater than x. Okay, so this is a false statement. So once again, let me clear this up. Now if we are to print this, we are going to see false. Okay, now it is false because we are using the end operator. So as far as the end logical operator is concerned, all the statements must hold true in order to be true. Okay, finally. Now let's look at another scenario where we are going to use the or. So as far as the or is concerned, the or will simply give a true if any of them is true. Okay, so as you know over here, this is true, and this is false. Okay, so as far as the or is concerned, let me clear this one out once again. If you are to run this program, we are going to get a value of true because one of them, just one of them, has to be true. Once it is true, it doesn't care about the others. It's going to output a value of true. This is basically what happens with a lot of Boolean operations regarding logic gates, the AND gate and OR gate. Okay, so that's basically what we are trying to implement over here as far as the logical operations are concerned. Now let's look at the not. So as far as the not logical operator is concerned, I'm going to put out another variable over here, and this variable is going to be name. So name is going to be my name, Kenneth. Okay, and we are just going to look at some few things over here, quite very interesting. So we are going to print something over here. Now we are going to print letter K. Okay, so we are going to say K, this strange K. Okay, and we are going to say K in name. Now, what this print statement, let me clear this one once again. What this print statement is actually going to output is going to output a boolean, either a true or false. And what this particular logic is trying to do is it's going to go through this string, okay, and it's going to check if there's a variable k in name, then it's going to print true, okay. So if I'm to run this, we are seeing true over here. Now, clearly, you don't have y in this string, okay. So if I'm to try and print y, let's run this program. You are going to see false because there's no y over here. Now let's maintain k. And once again, let me clear this one over here. And this is where the not comes in. So the not is actually going to negate anything we have in here as far as this is concerned. So you can say k not in name, okay. So we are trying to say k is not in name. If it is not in name, then we want to see something, okay. But actually k is in name. So if you are trying to say k not in name, then it's going to output a value of false. So if you print this out, you are going to see false, okay, because k is actually in name, okay. But over here, we are using the not logical operator to negate the kind of logic we are trying to implement. All right, so I'm going to comment these ones out. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to build a very interactive program, okay, and I'll call this the grading system program, okay. So normally we go to school and we write exams, and based on the mark we obtain, we are given some grades, okay. So there's some kind of a scale. So for instance, if you have a range of, let's say, 90 to 100, if you have a score of 90 to 100, then you are given a grade A. If you have, let's say, 80 to 90, you are given some kind of grade one way or the other. So we are going to implement this using some of these things we've learned so far. So clearly, this is actually going to be a combination of the logical operations, the conditional statements, and also the comparison that we've learned in the past 3 videos we've had. All right, so you are going to have a variable, and this variable is going to accept an input, but then we are first of all going to cast this input to be an int, okay, so that we don't have any problems as far as the comparison is concerned. And you are going to say enter your score. So enter your score is going to be here. All right, so at this point we should be very used to this particular line of code because we've written it in different ways, okay. So we are accepting an input, okay, and we are casting it to be an integer because we are actually going to accept raw values, okay, and we are storing it in a variable score. So now we start implementing our logic over here. So this is what you're going to say. You're going to say if the score, okay, if that value, okay, is greater than or equal to, and let's start with 90, okay, if the score is greater than or equal to 90 and the score is also less than or equal to 100, because that's the upper limit as far as our grading system is concerned, then we can actually print out let's use a formatted string over here. So you can print out, let me say, grade A. All right, so for grade A, then we are going to print out the score over here. All right, so we are going to do this. Okay, now this looks kind of cool, okay. So now let's run this program and see. Now if I run this and let's say I type in 95, okay, so 95 is grade A, and this actually met by this condition. So you are saying that if the score we type in, which in this case was 95, if it is greater or equal to 90, so it means anything starting from 90, okay, so 90 and above, if it is 90 and above, and this end operator comes in over here. So these two conditions must be met before this logic implements, okay. So if it is 90 and above, so 90 and above, so that means we have let me put out a comment over here. So the values that we are expecting as far as this operation or logic is concerned is if it is 90, 91, 92, 93, 96, and we can go on and on and on and on. Okay, but then this is also giving us some kind of a boundary. Okay, so if this exists, and it should also be less than or equal to, so we can only go and only hit up to 100. Okay, we can't go beyond 100 because of this particular condition over here. All right, so if this condition is met, then we are printing this one out, and that's what we see over here. Now let's continue because we are not quite done. So we are going to put out our elif statement over here. So elif, if the score, because everybody can get this, so if the score is actually greater than or equal to, and this time around, let's say 80, and once again the score is less than or equal to 89, then we want to print this one should be a grade B. All right, so once again we are using a formatted string, and let's say we have grade B over here, and we put in the score variable over here. So we've implemented two logic conditions over here. So let me run this program. So we are getting some errors over here, and sometimes these things are very good because we see the errors and we're able to find our way around it. So as far as this error is concerned, I think it has to do with the operation, and clearly you can see that we have invalid syntax. Okay, so it is pointing us at exactly where the program kind of have problems trying to interpret the logic we are trying to write over here. So now this is what is happening. We are saying that if the score is greater than or equal to 80 and the score is less than or equal to 89, okay, I think with what we have over here, we have to take away this equal to, okay, because it doesn't make sense. Now we just want to have something less than. Now this is the equal to comes in here because this is actually the upper limit, so it has to be equal to that number. It can't go beyond that number, and that's what we have over here. But this one, it can go beyond, and that's actually what you are seeing over here, because this score 90 is actually above 89, and that's what is causing the problems. So if you are to run this, we are not going to have any problem. So if you have let's say 98, we are going to get a grade A. Let's run it again, and now let's use a number like 85, and clearly we are going to see grade B for 85 over here. So now let's continue with the logic and see how things goes. So we are going to do an elif, and once again we are going to say score. So if the score is greater than or equal to 70, and the score once again is less than 79, okay, if it is less than 79, then we want to print out once again a formatted string, and we are going to put out grade C. So we are going to see score over here, and let's continue with the rest of the logic. So we have else if score is greater than or equal to 60, and score is less than 69, then we are also printing out once again a formatted string. We have this going to be grade D. I think my grading system is a little bit scary, but then this is what we want to do. Then once again, let's do an elif. So elif, if the score is greater or equal to 50, and once again the score is less than 59, we want to implement this particular logic. So we are going to print, once again, put out a formatted string over here. So you put out a grade E, and you put out the score next to it. All right, so I think from E we are going to F. Okay, so let's say elif, and if score is greater or equal to 40 and score is less than 49, then unfortunately that score is going to be graded F. So we have grade over here, then we have score inside here. All right, so we are kind of getting along as far as the logic is concerned. Okay, so we are repeating and trying to implement the logic that pertains to this particular scenario into Python program. And as you can clearly see, we are applying the conditional statements, we are applying the logical operations, and we are also applying some comparison operators over here. So finally, what we are going to do is we are going to put out the else statement over here. So the else statement kind of terminates everything. Okay, so if none of these conditions are met, then you want to print out something over here, and perhaps maybe it is an invalid input or something like that. So we are going to say invalid input. All right, so we have an invalid input, something of that sort. So let's try and run this program and see. So once again, let me clear this and let me run this. And we are getting some problems over here. So we have something over here, and it says if score is greater than or equal to, okay, so there was a space over here that was causing the problem. Okay, so let's run this, and we are getting another problem. So we have in grade E. Okay, so we also put out a column over there which was not supposed to be there. And once again, let's run this. Okay, so we don't have any problems now. So let's say we have 90. So if you have 90, we have grade A. Let's run this program again. We have 55. So 55 is actually grade E because it falls within this particular range. Okay. Okay, so now let's run this program again. And let's type in something that cannot exist. Okay, so let's say somebody cannot have 1,000. Okay, so immediately we type in 1,000. It says what? Invalid input, and that's what the else does over here. Now, one of the things I realized was the fact that there's a little bit of gap in terms of the implementation of this logic over here, and that has to do with I think the last condition we put out over here. So I think anything below 40 should be an F. Okay, because as we have it over here, if I'm to type 20, it says invalid input. Okay, all right, so in order to rectify this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this particular logic over here. Okay, so what I am trying to say is anything below 49 is an F. Okay, so if I should save this and run this program, and let's say we have 20 over here, 20 is below 49. So if I should press enter, instead of just saying invalid input, we are getting an F over here. If I should run this once again and type in 1,000, now the 1,000 is now the invalid input because our grading system or our score, the upper limit is only up to 100.